This episode is brought to you by Tennessee Pre, our lead sponsor. Tennessee supplements made for you to take everything. All-in-one pre-workout with creatine hydrochloride, BCAAs, glutamine for recovery, and a fat burner, and all the goodness of a normal pre-workout. They also have Tennessee Pre's 1976. It is a stem-free pre-workout for those nighttime lifters and can still provide you some juicy pumps. Try Tennessee Pre today and support local businesses, and you can find them at TennesseePre.com or on Instagram at Tennessee_Pre. Thank you very much. All right, guys, we're ready to roll. What's up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit podcast. Also, I have my boy. Sorry. Also, I have my co-host, Logan Hyder here of Cinema 83 LLC. Check him out for all your videography and all those things. And we have a special crew of guests today. The guest is my boy, Eric Hensley of the Hensley Group and the Coyote Creek and all the other things. He's going to tell you a little bit about that. But we also had the 6 a.m. crew here. He's the one who organized the 6 a.m. crew. I trained them in the mornings a few days a week, and we get after it. We got my man Matt over here. I don't know if you can see him. And then we got Brian and Tez over here on the side. They're basically all just going to spectate. They're our audience, and they're probably just going to talk shit throughout.
I would like to say that us four will put up against anybody.
I'll tell you what, it's an interesting time. But I actually look forward, y'all are like, I'm up early for you guys, but I'm like, man, I look forward to training these dudes just because it's like a reality TV show I walk into.
It's got to be good to have a group too, right?
It's a group, and they all just talk shit to each other the entire time. And about each other's form. I don't got to critique anybody's form because they're all doing the work for me. They're just like, you suck, and you suck. And then next thing you know, these challenges unfold, and it turns into a pretty badass session. So
Joe's just sitting over there like, I don't even have to do anything.
I'm just yelling out the times down.
Just let y'all boys go.
So, no, that's kind of what I do with them. That's how we got together, and then I started learning a little bit more about what Eric does. And go ahead and just give us a briefing of what you got going on now.
Yeah, so I run 3 different companies. So the first one that I've had the longest is the Hensley Group. We're a vertically integrated real estate investing company. So we do long-term, multifamily and commercial assets, as well as ground up new construction.
Nice. A little bit of everything.
Yep.
What else is tied in with that?
And then we just recently started this year a custom home building company. And that was out of necessity for what we felt was a miss in the market.
Yeah.
Of just honestly builders being honest.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's come from years of wanting to do it, but never having the opportunity. And this year presented a great opportunity. So we actually called that Canaan Builders.
Okay.
So like in the Bible where it's Canaan, the land of milk and honey.
Nice.
So,
I like it. That's pretty cool.
And then the last one, which has just been something that has just exploded, has been Coyote Creek Outdoors. So
the shirt he has on.
Yep.
Coyote Creek, that's the logo. Check it out.
Repping Coyote Creek. Coyote Creek was an interesting story because it came from another large builder, and it was just one of their side companies, actually. I found it on Buy Sell Biz online.
No shit.
It's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm looking through these online business for sale, and I'm like,
it's like a place.
And so you just buy businesses?
Yeah, I was about to say, it's a place you buy businesses like that?
Absolutely.
What?
Yeah. So
I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't either.
So there is a place just like MLS for real estate agents. There's a place you can go and people put their businesses for sale.
No shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, this is getting too much. I got to get rid of it pretty much. It's just...
Could be anything. I mean, they've got property. They've got stuff on there for $20 million, and they've got stuff on there for $50,000.
So I'm going to throw RP up there for like $500 million.
Just see what happens.
Just think of the potential. I want people to have vision.
Exactly.
Just kidding. I'm not selling it. But unless somebody comes at me with $500 million, I'd have to, no. But that's pretty wild.
So I'm sitting there at probably like 10 o'clock at night going through this, and at the end of last year, and I see an opportunity there. Always been interested in more vertically integrated companies. So for us, it's new construction, but anything outside to, electrical, HVAC, anything like that makes sense for us.
Yeah.
And this one was a high-end, super high-end landscape hardscape company.
Okay.
So they did $1 million, $2 million, $3 million home exteriors in Brentwood, Franklin.
So that's where you try to keep all your stuff pretty much high end for sure.
Yeah. So we purchased them in December 2021.
Okay.
And then we purchased the company, all the assets, and we brought on the 19 employees that came with it.
Nice, dude.
And so a lot's changed in 2022 because we actually hired Matt, our COO. We hired Tez as well. So if you come and work for me, you will be part of the 6 a.m. crew.
Nice. So I know
That's
that,
part
which
of
is,
it. That's part of. I like that though.
I feel like you should be honored to be a part
Yeah.
of that, you know? And for those of you who don't know Matt, you know, I got a grudge with him always because he told me one day I was unassuming. He said, you know, I know this guy, he's kind of unassuming like him, you know? And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm just an unassuming guy. So I'm going to get tattooed or make a shirt that people are just like, look at that unassuming loser. No, but anyways, yeah, I'll never let that go. So we know about what you got going on now to a degree. But let's rewind, Eric. Let's take it back. Let's take it back to the beginnings. So I want to go back towards your childhood. Tell us a little bit about that and like, you know, your parents' influence and early experience with, you know, because we'll get into that, but you were a D1 athlete. So let's go into that a little bit. Tell us about that.
So I grew up in a place called Clinton, Tennessee. It's right outside of Knoxville. I mean, you could picture-esque a white middle-class family, probably more upper middle class. That's who I was.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents had the 2.2 kids. You know, both my parents worked at the same company for 30 years, 40 years. My mom just retired, I think it was 40 years at the same company.
Damn.
That doesn't happen these days anymore.
No. Both had pensions, both had, you know, and that's what it was. That's what, you know, it was wake up, go to work.
So pretty like
Come home.
normal upbringing, pretty
Absolutely.
much. Yeah.
And it was, you know, I was taught work hard, get good grades, and go to school. Matter of fact, me and my boy Matt, I never missed a day of school in 13 years.
Nice, dude.
And it wasn't because of, you know, anything other than just, I mean, why not? You know?
Yeah.
But that was the upbringing.
Did
That
Matt go
was
to school?
I was about to say, did you guys go to school together?
No, I'm about to say.
I just had perfect attendance for 13 years.
You what?
Oh, he said he had perfect attendance as well.
I love how this has somehow become like a competition. Like, how was your, like at some point in there, they were like, what was your attendance in school, huh? Like, I'm better.
Oh my God.
But that's what, you know what? That's what we do.
That's wild though.
But
Not a single
unfortunately,
day.
both of us were perfect.
There was, I remember growing like in elementary school, maybe past that too, but like you got like awards for perfect attendance.
Yeah.
And I used to think like, how the hell did you come to every day?
I got a
Like, how is that
plaque.
even possible?
You got a
How is that
plaque?
even possible? Like, bro, you never got sick. You never, like, you played football. You never had an injury. You had to miss a day for it. Like,
No.
What?
I would go half a day and leave.
Jeez, that's wild.
So those are workarounds.
Matt's nodding. He's
It's
like,
the gray
bro,
area.
There's
It's
a
not-
strategy to it. Don't think we don't know exactly the minute we can leave and still get credit for a full day.
Remember in life, there are rules, but you can follow the rules exactly. See?
Use the rules against themselves.
That's right.
Oof.
That's right.
Hey, everything's gray, you know. There's no black and white.
Correct.
It's all gray.
So, you know,
Will you just bring that around front just a bit?
so family, you know, again, just that's how I grew up. I grew up with both parents. I grew up, you know, you go to school, you do your work, you work hard. You know, I didn't have many friends growing up. I wasn't the guy that went to all the parties. I wasn't the guy that got to go out. You know.
Oh, really?
No, I played football. I went to school and I came home.
How you start football like right off the bat?
No, I didn't play football till I was in 8th grade.
Oh, really?
And it was our first 8th grade team.
And then
part of the first 8th grade team.
Oh, so it was a small town.
Yeah.
So were you like a hot shot? Did you know? You were like, man, I'm some kind of...
No, I was a dick. I think a lot of people realize like looking back at when I'm 35, but looking back then I thought I was hot shit, but I wasn't. I was a jackass.
I think always looking back, I mean, I thought I was hot shit too, and I look back and I'm like, God, that dude was a fucking moron.
Yeah.
What was he doing?
But I was 6'5" and 280 pounds in the 8th grade.
So you definitely, statistically, you were a little bit in the higher percentage.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Statistically, he was a little bit in the higher percentage. Is that how you want to classify that?
I didn't hit my growth spurt till like high school, you know.
And again,
I wasn't.
What we always say about you saying you hit a growth spurt. He was like, yeah, before I hit my growth spurt, I was like 5'9". I was like 5'9", 180.
Very unassuming.
Yeah, super unassuming.
Yeah.
You know.
And then I grew to become more unassuming.
Yeah.
Over time.
But he always talks about his growth spurt, and I'm like, bro, you were bigger than I am now before you hit a growth spurt.
I think at that age though, and that big, like I was falling over myself. Like I didn't know I didn't know how to move. I was fat as fuck. Like,
how did these things work? You're looking at your legs.
How old did you say you were?
I was 13.
13. And what were the measurements again?
So I was 280. I was 280 and 6'5".
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
And your parents were, like you said, your dad wasn't like a large person.
My dad's 5'11". Yeah. My mom's, I think, 5'10".
What the hell?
So you had something crazy going on.
So here's the story. I'll tell you the story.
Yeah, let's do it.
The story is that both my parents worked for a nuclear disarming facility in Oak Ridge.
Okay.
And my mom was pregnant.
I've heard about the Oak Ridge.
Yeah, it's a cool place.
Supposedly there was some radiation
that got through
during the work times.
So I need to take my girl one day to the nuclear power plant, but hey, just let's get some waves and we'll leave. And I'll breed a damn freak.
So I
you could have started like at center for an NBA team when you were 13.
I couldn't have moved though. It was bad. So I go to high school, and my freshman year, we were fucking terrible, but I learned a lot. So I started playing basketball, and my basketball coach was like, look, you're slow. You can't move. Like the senior basketball guys like beat the fuck out of me. And they were it was ruthless. And I was like, screw this. Like I'm going to figure something out. So between my freshman year and sophomore year, I dropped down to 220. I came into my own and just started lifting. And my dad and we got in the garage, started lifting, learning, started learning football, playing basketball, got my feet under me.
So you're doing all the extra shit, like paying attention to football when you're at home and all that stuff too?
Yep.
Yeah.
But you said you were playing basketball then. Were you already playing football or you hadn't started playing football yet?
Yeah, no, I was playing football, but like in 8th grade, I was so big and so awkward that they wouldn't let me play on the basketball team.
Yeah. They're like, dude.
So when I got to high school, the basketball coach was like, look, this kid is too big to not play on the basketball team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he kind of recruited me over to basketball just to, he's like, look, this is going to help you with footwork for football. I know this is not where you're going, but this is what you're going to do. Yeah. So we kind of got through that. And then my sophomore year, I kind of broke out. Like my first game, I had 13 tackles at defensive end. I just started balling. My freshman year though, I got my teeth kicked in. Like actually my brother-in-law now was a senior. And like their offensive line would like every day we're getting our teeth kicked in.
So you were only defensive line at that time?
Yeah. As a freshman. So like you had to learn quick.
Yeah.
So a couple years later, so I had in high school, I had 3 different head coaches.
What high school, by the way?
Clinton High School.
Oh yeah. You said Clinton.
My junior year, we went 0-9.
Nice.
0-9.
Killers.
Yep. And my senior year, I never really played offense. I was a defensive guy.
Yeah.
And I could move pretty well. And then got an opportunity to play at Vandy. So
nice.
They offered me a full ride. UT actually offered me a preferred walk-on. So I kind of, I always wanted to go to UT. I was wanting to.
But a full ride.
Yeah, man. Vandy offered me a full ride.
And for those of you that aren't following, we're talking about sports ball at the time. And we're talking about his sports ball experience. So I got to throw that in there. And I will say, I wanted to bring it back because you were talking about, you're going into your sophomore years when you really came into your own.
Yep.
And, I will say that's when actually kind of when things changed for me was like between my freshman and sophomore year when I did. But you went that extra step. Like in my mind, I'm like, all right, dude. I'm like, I was at a small school too. And I was, 6'2", 250, like still a good sized kid. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna go play D1 ball and see what happens. But the difference is, and you brought it up, like I didn't put in the extra work. Like I wasn't watching anything about football at home, and I was training just like I went to gym, like workout class and, football practice, but I didn't do any extra shit. So, and there's a lot of people that kind of think that, and we talked to a guy recently, Antonio, that came on. He was like, oh man, I'm gonna go in the NBA one day. Like, he had all these dreams, but we talked about it. Like neither one of us were putting in that extra work, to succeed. And you were. So obviously you're gifted with the genetics, but
you were talking about too, like parents, like that was also pushed from my dad, and it wasn't pushed hard because I wanted to do it anyways, right? But it was still kind of pushed there. So, I think people don't realize too now, like the difference. Like I started coaching my son's 8th grade team.
Yeah.
Or 8U team, 8-year-old team, 8 years old, and they're doing things that we were doing in high school.
Right.
Like they're training during summertime. They're like
stepping it up.
Dude, whenever I was playing Little League football, bro, you never threw the ball.
There's a lot more competition and stuff nowadays.
Which
too.
like, why would you throw the ball? Because it's like a 6-year-old. They can't throw, but now they can't. They're out there doing 7-on-7s when they're freaking 7.
Dude, it's crazy.
It's in basketball, same thing. They're doing AAU tournaments constantly, so the skill level is just insane.
So I think that made me, that's kind of eye-opening to what it is now versus what it was
your
then.
parents' influence on your success, like it can go a long way if they're intentional and they're like sitting you down. My dad definitely tried. I don't know, growing up I never listened to anything my parents said. Just all throughout life. And they've learned to like really love me for who I am. They just know I'm going to do me. But it's funny, my dad would try and I'd just be like, and then before I did grow, actually I remember my dad he'd like to get me amped up for a game. He'd play like the scene from Rudy. And he'd be like, Joseph, like, check this out. Now looking back, I'm like, man, like, you thought I was just some runt.
Rudy.
But no, it was pretty funny. He was just trying to get me fired up. But hell yeah, well, moving forward. So you ended up playing ball at Vandy.
Yep.
Full ride.
I was going to ask you about that real quick. You said Vandy offered you, had you switched to offensive line at that point?
So no, but they offered me to be offensive line. They're like, look, you're white and slow, so
you're built for this.
Let's use your size. But we'll put you on the other side. Yeah, I got you.
So went into Vandy, and again, just like my freshman year, I got my teeth kicked in. I mean, like the difference, a lot of people don't realize the difference between high school and college ball at the SEC level, even Vanderbilt, like, and I say Vanderbilt like lightly, but our first string can hang with any other first string.
Yeah.
It's usually a depth issue.
It's the depth issue, right? So,
just run out of horses by the second. I mean, some depending second or third quarter, but especially third and fourth quarter, you just run out of horses. You just don't have anybody to put in.
Correct.
Anymore.
And I mean, I got my teeth kicked in. Yeah. Like I was going against guys that like were eventually in the NFL, and I was also a jackass. So that probably made it even worse as far as a freshman, because I was a smart ass, man. Like I am who I am. Like, I'm me.
I mean, so nothing's changed really, personality wise.
But, and then so you kind of grow and you learn. And so my sophomore year comes and goes, and, I got caught drinking and driving, going the wrong way on 5th Avenue in downtown Nashville.
There you go.
In my sophomore year.
Very discreet.
Yeah.
Very unassuming.
Yeah.
Very unassuming. So I got kicked off the team for like 6 games. And then I feel like, when something like that happens, you kind of just are like, well, fuck, what am I going to do?
Yeah. Makes you reanalyze for sure.
Yeah. So what I did is I reanalyzed and figured out, like, Is this something I'm going to do, or is this it? Like, I kind of wasn't, I wasn't really like into the team thing. Like all the guys on the team were kind of more, focused on football. I was focused on having fun because I kind of got to let loose in college.
Yeah.
I was all tightened up in high school. I never got to do anything. I didn't drink.
So you just went wild.
I went batshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got DUI, and you were just going crazy. It was pretty nuts, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I was going out every day, like drinking every day.
Damn. So you were on a roll.
Yeah.
That was like me when I went to college the first time, but I only made it a year before I had to go in the military. And I still did that every day in the military, but somehow avoided getting in trouble. But
my freshman year, I ended up with a 1.8 GPA.
So, dude, I was about to ask about that.
A 1.7 is when you get kicked out of school. By the way.
Gotcha. So does being at Vanderbilt, was there any kind of extra level of academic pressure or no?
Oh my God. So like being at Vanderbilt, I tried to do mechanical engineering.
At Vanderbilt, yeah, that's what. Yeah.
God, that's not an easy degree.
Well, no, it's not. And at that school, of all places.
So I'm trying to do mechanical engineering. I'm drinking every day. I'm going to football afterwards. So and just rinse and repeat. And when you do that for an entire year, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
So we continued that into sophomore year, and that's when that shit happened. So, then, junior, senior, and then my 5th year is kind of when I started getting serious about football.
So you changed majors or anything?
Yeah. Went to HOD, Human and Organizational Development.
Oh, yeah. I'm about to say mechanical engineering, that's a lot of book words there.
Yeah.
That's a little overwhelming.
So, went there, and then I started doing a little bit better in school, focusing a little bit more. Still had fun, but and was focusing more on football.
You created a balance.
And then I ended up starting my junior year spring at right tackle. So, and I felt like this was the best ball I was ever playing. I was in sync. I was strong as hell.
You're focused.
I was focused finally.
Yeah.
I felt like I had a good, the team and I were good. Like I was finally back, I wasn't being such a jackass, to be honest. I was more like, these are our boys, right? So, third play of the spring game, I snapped my leg.
Damn.
Right above my ankle.
So you were starting going into the spring game, and then in the spring game that happened?
Yep.
That sucks.
And it was rough.
Yeah.
It was rough. And this is my true junior year. And coming back from that was rough. I mean, I was a big guy still.
Yeah. So the recovery took a little longer too.
Recovery took longer. And I ended up, Nikki, my wife now, she actually says that reason I broke my leg is why we met. So,
I mean, there's a plus.
I guess that worked out.
Plus there, right?
It's because I stayed that summer. I stayed that summer and was actually partying a lot. And we were up in Murfreesboro at a country bar. And so that's when I met Nikki.
Was it Whiskey Dicks?
Actually, Stampedes, but yes.
Okay.
So Whiskey Dicks, Stampedes is the old Whiskey Dicks.
Oh, so that's back in the day.
Yeah, like back in the day. $5 to get in, all you could drink long necks all night.
Fuck. Yeah.
It was the shit.
I guess they got a new Whiskey Dicks
what a
that's
deal.
opening up today.
That's why they're not in business anymore, because they were doing shit like that.
They're opening up a new one tonight. They got a new building.
Yeah.
Whiskey Dicks.
You want to go, Joe?
I went there a few months ago, or I went there, the beginning of the year, end of last year, with some friends because they visited, and then my buddy's little sister, she couldn't get in anywhere downtown, so I went to Whiskey Dicks, and it was weird, man. I felt really old.
Yeah.
It's just that feeling. It's that vibe. Because it's all 18. I feel like they're all 18, 19, 20. They're definitely underage.
Yeah,
So
man.
you were talking
I'm just
about,
assuming.
You were talking about how because you were still bigger, so those lower body injuries are a lot harder to come back from. And like,
yeah, man, it was tough. So, broke my leg right above the ankle.
damn, that's a bad spot.
I did not have to have surgery.
Okay.
It was a clean break, but it definitely was all the way through. And I worked back the summer, but I lost a step.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Kinda set you back a little bit.
I wasn't moving like I was. I wasn't, and honestly, I lost my position. So I had an offensive line coach. His name was Coach Caldwell. And honestly, man, I think the way he coached, I didn't like. It was very ruthless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, his favorite thing to say was, "I'll get you a bus ticket back to your hometown." Anytime you messed up, it was like, I'm getting you a bus ticket back to your hometown,
Yeah.
And after 4 fucking years of that shit,
Yeah.
You're like, dude.
It's a pretty serious threat. I mean, he's saying it as a coach, but if that's always in the back of your mind, like, I'm gonna have to go home.
yeah.
But he didn't do that though.
No, he didn't
buy any
do
bus
that.
Probably wouldn't have
tickets?
the power to do
No,
that.
he didn't
probably
do
wouldn't have
that,
to-
man. But when you coach that way and you treat kids like that, and I think the mentality now is so soft, right?
Totally
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
But there's a difference in soft and ruthless coaching,
Right.
Of course.
Right.
There's also the balance of that as well. You don't want to give everybody a trophy, but you also don't want to curse people and threaten them every single time as well. So you got to meet right in the middle.
Right. And I think that I kind of got, when I was younger, before I had kids, and even now with kids, I kind of catch myself doing that to my kids.
Yeah.
Right. That ruthless,
No excuses. That doesn't matter.
no excuses don't matter. You broke your leg, get out there and run.
He's having flashbacks.
Nowhere near the same level, but my high school head coach was like that. He was real old school. He won a championship 30 years before that, and he was still coaching. And we ran the wing tee, if that tells you anything. And it was pretty bad. And then my junior year, he had a heart attack, really mellowed him out, and his son took over, and it was a bit of a different case. But horror story after horror story of that kind of ruthlessness, of not caring whatsoever.
So Coyote Creek Outdoors, we are a hardscape, landscape, and pool company. We are your turnkey luxury outdoor living service.
Definitely check them out. And that's on Instagram as well, right?
Yep. At Coyote Creek TN.
Cool.
At Coyote Creek TN.
Check them out. So anybody needs a pool, hit these guys up.
Absolutely.
This episode is also brought to you by Jan Adams with Benchmark Realty. She's my wonderful mother, and she has 30 years experience in the real estate industry, and it allows her to fulfill her dream of service to others, and it brings her joy to do so by helping them sell their houses and helping people find their homes. Nashville real estate, according to her, is still in high demand. Inventory is needed, and it is a good time to sell. This area is also one of the top areas for relocation in the country. Don't fall in the trap of renting America. That's what investors want you to do. Buy your own home, own your own home. It's going to benefit you in the long run, and you'll be much happier doing so other than forking out money to somebody else. So check out Jan. Call or text her at 615-969-5577 or email her at jansellstnhomes@gmail.com. Thank you. Got into your senior year. You were talking about that, how you just really came to your own. You were like, well, no. Sorry, you broke your leg. Going into senior year, you felt like you lost a step. Tell us briefly about that.
Going into junior year. And,
okay.
So when that happened, it's rough. When you have an injury like that, which
I know.
Yeah. Mine was nowhere near what you went through, but when you have an injury like that and you're a very high level athlete, it's rough, man.
Yeah, I was just training for me. So it wasn't oh man, I'm trying to get back on the field or anything.
Yeah.
And so there's a whole different situation.
And so, I came back and definitely lost a step, and, the coach didn't let down. It wasn't like, hey, you're back. I got your position back. Right.
Yeah.
It was, fuck you. You're, tough shit.
Yeah.
So I was the starting right tackle going into the year, broke my leg, trained hard, was running back, came back, and fuck you, you're out. Like,
Nice.
So were you even? Did they drop you to second, third, fourth, or was it just?
So they dropped me to second string. And then was like, oh no, now you're moving inside. So now you need to go to guard.
Didn't change your position?
Yeah.
Oh, so they threw you first guard then.
And you know, I was very frustrated at it at first. I was like, this is bullshit. Like, I just came back from having a broken leg after starting at that position.
Yeah.
And, you know, you guys, are basically putting me at, you know, ground one.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Having to learn a new position.
So, you know what? I kind of just, the first couple of games, I was like, fuck this. Like, you know, I guess I'm just not going to be a player, you know? And then I don't know what happened. Something clicked, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to give it all I got. And so by halfway through the season, I earned a starting position at right guard during that.
Somebody's phone ringing. Oh. I was like, what is that?
And so, you know, earned that position and just started balling out. You know,
yeah.
My first start was Georgia at Georgia.
Nice.
Yep. So
Is that the one you won?
that is not the one.
Oh, that would have been. See, that would have been the great.
But I did grade out well that game. My center, he said after the game, he's like, "Man, I'm glad you're next to me." Because one of the plays we did a draw play. I still remember it like it was yesterday. We did a draw play, and Georgia's no chumps. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
them are some boys there. So we did a draw play. So on a draw play, you set and then come together and you go into run blocking, right?
Okay.
So you set for the run for the pass block.
It's a fake pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we set.
I know. I remember.
I'm just fucking with you.
And I took the tackle and I threw him
Nice.
over to my center, and my center pancaked him.
Nice.
And then I went off the backer, and we had like a 15-yard.
It just felt good.
It felt great.
Hell yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm back.
I bet after everything you went through, too, for him to say that was like
Yeah.
from your
All
peer
right.
too. Like the coaches were the ones that were kind of fucking you up, and then your peer was like, "I'm glad that you're here."
Yeah.
And then you were fired up moving forward, I'm sure, through the rest of the season.
Fired the fuck up.
So you had a good year.
And I never lost my starting position again.
And y'all just crushed it.
Yeah.
You were starting at what then?
So I was starting at right guard.
Right guard, gotcha.
Yeah. And so I started for the rest of that year and then my senior year.
Nice.
So,
Hell yeah, dude.
and you know, we balled out. We played. We won the Music City Bowl that year.
Was that James Franklin?
No, so Bobby Johnson.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
He's a
So
legend too.
you know what's funny though? I didn't start the first 5 games, and I started the rest of the year, and we won the Music City Bowl. I played in the Music City Bowl against a guy named BJ Raji, who was the starting. I think he was the starting tackle for Green Bay in the Super Bowl.
Damn. How'd you do it? How'd you perform?
I mean, I got fucking handled, but
I love the honesty.
He said, "Did you hear what I just said? He played in the Super Bowl."
no, I held my own.
Yeah.
I mean, we won.
Yeah. There you go.
We won, right?
Take that,
It's
BJ.
interesting. You go to a bowl game and you got to play in Nashville.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But it was the first bowl game Vanderbilt went to.
Yeah.
And it was the first one we won in 52 years.
And at the same time, you have a home field advantage, basically. So
Correct. Yeah. So that was freaking awesome, man. And then, you know, getting to start I actually started the next 2 years. So that was 2008, and then I played 8 and 9. Okay. So it was actually 2 years. But it was great, man. Finishing out college ball, starting, you know, the coaches didn't let up, so it was still ruthless.
you still had to fight them off basically the whole time.
Yeah, man. Like you have to fight. You have to fight for your position. You have to
Yeah.
fight for everything you get.
Yeah.
And it's you know, it is what it is. People don't realize that college ball. I mean, you're not killing people in the military, like in the military, but you wake up. You're told when to wake up. You're told when to be where. You're told how to do it. You're told
it's
when
no
to
joke.
get there.
There's a lot of demands. It's pretty taxing on.
And
$1 billion business.
And then not only that, but you also have to go to school and make good grades.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, if you don't get to play.
Yeah, so it's crazy. My cousin Anthony, he went to IU on a full ride wrestling scholarship. And IU is one of the top wrestling schools in the country, and so they're just up there with that crew. And he got a full ride there, but he got to his senior year. And, wrestling's a little different, too, because you got to cut weight. So there's also that aspect. Like, as a lineman, they're probably just like, eat everything and get as fucking big as you can. You're not, like, on a meal plan. And I know he was just talking about how just ridiculous it was, And he was like, man, I'm not doing wrestling after college. So he literally quit his senior year. And he was like, I'm just going to fucking enjoy being a college student for 1 year.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just different perspective. But, because like you said, like you were talking about, is all those demands always, you know what I'm saying? Like, make the good grades, always practicing. You're always doing this. You're always doing that. And he was like, fuck, I just want to enjoy it for 1 year.
I agree.
And I don't blame him. I think it's pretty cool. You kind of went backwards. You started off rough, and then you were like, all right, I got it out of my system. And so you kind of grew into it towards the end, which worked out.
One question I was going to ask real quick.
Yeah.
Because I am a big football fan, and I think it's interesting to, I don't know, like in the NFL, you have like a fantasy football team and shit like that, right? And like a guy gets hurt, and you're like, fuck you, dude. You fucking fucked my fantasy football team up. Or like if you have a SEC team that you're a big fan of, and it's like, oh my God, quit being a pussy, like play, like because you don't give a shit about the kid at all. Even as grown men, you don't give a shit about them as grown men, and the surgeries that they're gonna have to go through, and the fact they're not gonna be able to pick up their kid for the next 6 months, and the fact that they can't walk for the first 3 months after their surgery, that kind of thing. So you kind of talked on how it was difficult because coming back from the injury itself, but what would you say to somebody who doesn't really understand that aspect of it, that you're a person, you're not just a football player?
I think there's a couple of things that go along with that. Like all the motherfuckers out there that are talking about players getting paid, that are talking about like, hey, I'm a fan of the football game. It kind of goes to all that, right? Like somebody gets hurt and they're like, oh, screw them. Or like back in the day when Jay Cutler was on the Bears, right? And he didn't play that last game.
I remember that, yeah.
And people are like trashing him. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, you're not even out there.
It's like, hey, man, this guy's got a concussion. He might die. And everybody's just like, fuck him. Like, why'd he get that concussion?
Yeah, or like, hey,
they chose to do it.
He's not.
Yeah, like they chose to do it.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, he's not out there making $50 million.
Right. It's like, thanks, guys. I'm glad I broke my leg for you.
So I think it boils down to like, for me, I'm probably a little bit different. But I think everybody who didn't play can't say fucking shit to me.
Right. Well, that's why I'm weird about when people, I mean, I don't know. I'm one of those people, I see people say when they're talking about a team, and I know some people might get hurt by this, but they say, man, I can't believe we won that game. Like, we did so good. And I'm like, y'all didn't do it. Like, those guys on the field did it. You're like, I'm sorry. I just think, like, no, the only people that can claim we is the motherfuckers that were busting their ass on the field. Yeah. You can still be a fan and be like, man, I'm so proud of the team that I love so much. Like, I'm a huge fan of them. I'm so proud of what they did.
Those same people that say we, when their fucking player beats their wife, or when their player goes and gets in a fight,
they're going to be like, fuck that piece of trash. Guy. Yes, dude. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm like, so you want to create somebody for war, and then when they go to war, if they you want to be like, oh, what happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah. Yes.
Right? You make these people ruthless and want to hit people every day and be a real badass. Yeah. Right? But then something happens and you're kicking them to the curb.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck that.
Well, not to get off this, I think this is really interesting because, like, how often do you have a chance to talk to somebody that was in a situation like that? But, like, it's like with UFC fighters. They do crazy shit outside the octagon. It's like, bro, do you realize what they do for a living? Do you realize that they try to kill each other in front of millions of people? And you think that outside of the octagon, they're just like walking around like normal people?
I think for instance, the recent, right? The guy at UT, the safety that knocked the guy out.
Yeah, Jalen McCullough.
Knocked the guy out.
Yeah.
I'm like, somebody comes into my apartment, dude. I'm going to knock the motherfucker out.
And then he didn't get to play against Alabama because of that.
That's the world we're in, though.
So right? Do you know what we're talking about by chance?
No, but like I'm trying.
There was a safety for Tennessee. Basically, dude walked into his house super drunk in the middle of the night, like walked into the wrong apartment.
And he kicked his ass.
Kicked
him down the stairs.
Yeah, beat his ass. He fell down the stairs. Well, he fell down the stairs. Right. He hit him. He fell down the stairs, and then the police came and basically, dude whose apartment was basically broken into in the middle of the night, he got arrested because he hit the dude, and then he got suspended that week and couldn't play. And that was the week we were playing Alabama.
That's weird. Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's a very dangerous double standard that people want to create.
Yeah.
They want to make athletes to be these badass big guys and, you know, monsters on the field. They want to be the biggest and baddest.
Then they idolize them on top of that. Yeah, let it out. I'm doing it all the time.
and then they idolize these players, right? And when these players fuck up, because they're 19 and 20-year-old fucking kids.
Right, they're kids.
Right? They're kids. When these players fuck up, they end up just dousing them. Like, oh, fuck this kid. Like,
how about when the high school kid doesn't commit to your school, and then you got grown ass men on Twitter, or wherever.
Or how about this? How about the coaches?
Yeah,
I don't feel like people hold coaches accountable. So they want to talk about kids getting in these transfer portals now, which I think is the best thing that has ever happened to the league.
That's what the coaches can do.
And coaches can switch. They can get bought out. They can do whatever the fuck they want, and nobody holds them accountable. But you put a kid and let him go play where he wants to play, and then and
the whole world freaks out.
That's not okay. Like, oh, he's a traitor. He's this. He's that.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Well, Dabo Sweeney complains about it constantly, and he just signed an extension.
Well, the funny thing is, it's just like these people that analyze that are fans or whatnot, right? They idolize them. Really, it's very self-centered because they're just looking at what they can get from these people's performances. As soon as they screw up, it's just like asking God for a prayer and it doesn't come through, and you're like, man, screw God. You know, people are like, I'm done praying to God. It's the same thing, and it's just like as soon as it doesn't give them anything back, they're pissed off.
Yeah, I think this has gone in a different direction, but this is one of my things. Like, I don't think that anybody should be able to talk shit about any player ever for any reason if you've never played.
Yeah.
Like, if you've never stepped on the fucking field, keep your mouth shut in front of me.
I'm telling you, it's just like fighting. People talk about that Paul brother, right? That's out there fighting against guys.
Yeah, Jay.
And you get all these guys that comment and they're like, he's a terrible fighter. Like, he needs to get his ass beat. He's just fighting. At the end of the day, he's doing it.
100%.
He's probably a lot better fighter than 99% of you fools. I guarantee none of y'all has gotten in a ring. I guarantee nobody's actually, a street fight's different, but you've never actually gotten in front of a crowd or cameras or whatever and honestly squared up. And you know what? The dude's worth millions.
Haters, bro.
It's the keyboard warriors.
100%. And well, after the last fight, he gets a lot of hate, but after the last fight,
I think he's got some skills. You know why? One, he's worth millions, so he can afford to pay for whatever coaching, personalized to him, all he wants. Like, he's going to at least get better. Yeah, he may not be the best in the world, but that's the thing. It's the keyboard warriors. If people want to criticize and criticize and criticize, yet they aren't doing anything themselves. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. And I think that's one reason. I joke about sports. I think it's just There's something I'm like so weird about, and that's one of the big reasons I've just gotten away from like watching sports in general.
And I think when I got hurt, like, so you think about the NIL, you think about the transfer portals. Like, when I got hurt, if there was a transfer portal, I would have transferred.
You would have been out of there.
Yeah, I would have transferred.
Yeah, you would have been out of there.
Like, you dropped me from my position because I got hurt, and when I came back, I would have been out.
You were basically stuck in a contract.
Yeah, I would have been out. Yeah. Right?
Crazy.
And that's the availability to kids now. Is they can change, they can make money.
Good for them.
Great. Good for them. Yeah. And you have these 40-year-old, 50-year-old guys that have been fans for 50 years that have never stepped foot on the field. They were all conference
in their junior year in high school.
Yeah. All conference junior year.
That's their highlight of life.
We shouldn't be paying these kids to play ball. We should, they need to be student athletes. Fuck you. You haven't been on the field.
And imagine you were in their position. You'd be like, I'm sure you wouldn't be upset if people were paying you to do your damn thing. So, it's allowed me opportunity. Like, I could sponsor athletes now. I think it's kind of cool.
RP NIL deal. Let's go.
It's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, but
I want to do videography for athletes, and I can do that now because they can make money on their brands and stuff. So I just help them build their brand to be able to sell it. It's good for everyone. For one thing, it creates an entire industry for different people, right? Because there's whole people that are working in NIL that, who knows what they were doing before, but now they're NIL. Like, there's whole organizations, there's whole.
I love it.
It's awesome.
I think a lot of people think it's not a good idea, but you know what? I'm not a coach right now.
You're probably just like, fuck, why am I getting paid in school?
Well, I wouldn't have been one of the guys to get paid, right? Yeah. Because I was an offensive lineman. I was a blocker. I wasn't a starter until the last 2 years. I wasn't the guy that was going to get paid. However, I was probably the guy that would have taken advantage of the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Right. And but at the same time, you look at all that now, and I think it's a better system for the athletes.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not better for the coaches.
No.
Right.
Yeah, but they're just getting what the coaches have always had.
Getting what the coaches have always had. Lane Kiffin leaving Tennessee in a year.
Yeah.
Like all these coaches that can do whatever the hell they want and fuck the kids.
Well, what I think is crazy too is the coaches that have that get fired and then they have $15 million buyouts. Yeah. I would love to be so bad at my job that I get fired, and yet I still make $15 million afterwards.
Yeah,
I know.
How
man.
the fuck does that work?
I feel
Who's
like
writing these contracts? Like, it's wild, dude.
I feel like when I got out of the military, they should have given me a $15 million like release. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, dude, you were such a good airman.
And you could have.
We owe you this much.
The last thing I'll say about the NIL stuff is that, there is everybody thinks about like, the Nico kid who's coming to Tennessee, who they're saying has already made $8 million in NIL deals and that kind of stuff. You think about that, but, having you come speak at a local auto dealership for $500 is also a thing that'll happen. And it's like, you may not think, well, but you're a starting SEC football player, and they are just like, I just want you to be here because it'll be cool to have a Vanderbilt player here. A little $500 there, a little $500 there for this guy. Maybe that may be the most money they make, and it's
exactly. But here's the thing that I think about NIL deals that a lot of people I feel like don't understand. Let's say that guy does come and gets that $8 million NIL deal. Yeah. His first play destroys his knee.
Yeah. I thought. Yeah,
he's out.
Yeah,
he's out. Right. Never comes back as good as he was. Doesn't end up to much. What is he going to do? What is he going to do in life? Right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think this goes into kind of what the next phase of kind of where we were talking about is kind of what goes after is.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask, like transitioning from Vanderbilt, college football, into working, instead of going to like the pros or whatever. Like, tell us about that.
Yeah, that's a good segue, I think.
So I think a lot of people, I think I was under the impression that I was better than I was. Right. So
I think that's a majority.
When you play ball, you never want to admit that you aren't as good as
the guy next to you. Right. And I feel like I was just as good as the guy next to me. I feel like I was just as good as most of the SEC, but I was not what the NFL is. Yeah. Right. But I also didn't do some of the things that I could have done. Instead of training, I'm drinking. Instead of, there's extra steps.
Instead of eating right and exercising right my senior year, making sure I am ready and raring to go. And, all the things that I could have been doing.
Yeah.
I'm fucking partying.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the reality was when I was in it, I was like, oh, I'm fucking better than these guys. Why am I not playing? Right. And that's the attitude I had for years after, and I think looking back now, you just realize the truth, and the truth was you were not good enough to step on the field. Right.
And you're upset about it. You can't dwell on it.
You can't dwell on it now, but it's the truth. Right. Yeah. You weren't good enough to get on the field with the next level guys.
The thing is, I'll never forget being at one of my exercise science classes at MTSU, and there's this kid, he was like failing like the most basic exercise science class. Like, we'd go in there and we do like I think the main project was we had groups and we put people through a workout, and it was just simple shit, like a quick warm up, a few sets of this and that. And that was like the hardest thing we did. Right. And this kid was failing that. And he was like, man, going to the NFL anyways. And I was just sitting there like, dude, I don't know. Like, yeah. So you don't apply. You don't even give a shit to apply yourself in the simplest of classes.
1% of high school athletes go to college, and there's a ton of colleges. Okay, there's this is D3, yeah. D2. 1% of college athletes go to the NFL, right? Yeah. And so the best of the best go to the NFL. So I didn't get an agent. I should have. My girlfriend and I at the time, we were living together. I wasn't training like I was supposed to. I wasn't eating like I was supposed to. Like, I wasn't doing all the things. But then I blamed it on, I just didn't get a good agent. I didn't do, Instead, what it actually was is you didn't train, you didn't do the shit you needed to do, and now this is the result.
Yeah, and that's one of the healthiest things you can do is just be like, man, like, you got to own your shit.
Correct.
You
And
know?
for years I didn't.
Yeah.
So that
Years I
was the
didn't.
plan after was to try to make the NFL?
Oh yeah. That was always the plan, right? That was always the plan.
And it happens in business too, and we'll get into this whole like lessons thing, but like just like working with athletes or whatever, and like allowing people to take advantage or kind of screw you, and then you get pissed off, and you can sit there and say, man, fuck them, but at the end of the day, like, maybe I wasn't clear about the standards.
Right.
Maybe I allowed too much leeway. Maybe this. And like
And
at the end of the day, like I take ownership of like, I'll take ownership of the fact that like I allowed things to get that way as opposed to like,
And I think too, what people don't understand, and you have to, like, I had to do a lot of shit with myself, right? To really get that out and be like, oh shit, you just didn't do what you needed to do. Right. And so coming out of college, what's the next step in life, right? Like, all right, I'm not making the NFL, but I got a Vanderbilt degree, right? I should be having a rolling out red carpet for me.
Yeah.
All right. Of at least a 6-figure job. Please roll out the red carpet and give me my job.
So you kind of had the same attitude towards that as
Exactly.
you had. Gotcha.
I mean, it's no MTSU degree, but
And brother, that didn't happen.
yeah.
This was in 2010, right? The economy's in,
I was gonna say you were a couple years
a
out of
shithole, and CEOs are getting $100,000 jobs because they just got laid off, and I'm expecting to go out here and get it, and then they're like,
this is back when we were bumping that Jeezy Recession album. You know what I'm saying? During that time.
Yep. So kind of my story from there is, I went into sales. I sold copiers. I sold door-to-door office supplies. Nice. I knocked 70 doors a day.
Hell yeah.
And
so what kind of like mentally, what did you have to summon within yourself to go from like roll out the red carpet for me to having to do that?
I had a daughter. and I got married. Nikki and I got married. I had a daughter, and it was feast or famine. Like Nikki was making $29,000 a year in her job. She bought a house, and I was unemployed. And so it was.
You could buy a house with making that living then, though.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy.
That was the last of the craziness. Like you had a job and you had a pulse, you got a house.
Yeah.
And so. Yeah, and so Nikki and I were dirt poor. Like
pull that around for me just a little bit.
And I want to touch on the Nikki thing too, as far as like y'all meeting and stuff. But real quick. So this is all I want to hear about your transition though first into like the real estate thing and like what. Yeah. Obviously having a kid with her like that changed the game.
Yeah, and so I was just like, you know what, I don't know what I'm going to do, so I just got into sales.
Okay.
And started going and selling, and then I'm transition, and I got good at it and got good at what I was doing. Yeah. And we ended up buying a new house a couple of years later in 2012. And when I was buying that house, I got recruited for a new home sales rep. So that was where you go and you sit in a model home and you sell out of the model home.
Yeah.
Right. And they offered me at the time, my same, I was making like $50,000. And they're like, hey, we'll give you $65,000 in salary plus this commission, and here's your way to 6 figures. And I'm like, done.
Let's do this.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
And so I went to, but during this time, I still had that attitude. I still had I expect mentality. Like, I'm still the kid that that was like, this is fucked up that I'm not in the NFL, right? That's still the attitude.
You were still thinking about that?
Oh, dude, yeah. But that still carried over to what we were doing, right? Like, so I still had the chip on the shoulder, still had the, but the attitude was still there, right?
Yeah. Well, it's so difficult, too, like whenever you go from that being your life for like 20 years. You know, and then one day it's just over. And I didn't experience that going through college, but even...
And not even just like slowly over.
Right. It's just...
over.
Well, and I was probably the one step down version of what you were talking about thinking that I was good enough for the next level. I maybe could have played at a small school, but I was kind of like, I'm definitely going to play college football. And then the realization hit that last game was my last game. And it's like, holy shit, and I can't ever play football again. Like, I can't. I mean, I could, damn, it's just over. Like, just like that.
And for me, like, I couldn't even watch football. Like, I didn't want to watch football. I didn't want nothing to do with sports. I didn't care anything about ball. I hated it. I was like, I'm done.
It's heartbreaking, dude. It really is.
And I imagine, like, you go into like a mental fuck. And like, you kind of probably feel like, man, I lost a little bit of who I was. Like did you ever wonder like, man, who am I even? Because I don't know. It's a documentary I watched. I think it's called like Going for Gold. I don't know if you watched it. It's it's Amazon or Netflix, but it's about, I've referenced it before, but it's about Olympic athletes and how like, and they're pushed to a whole nother level. Like they didn't get to be kids at all, so they're fully ingrained in that fucking thing. And the goal is to eventually go to the Olympics and get gold. Like that's the goal your entire life. And, I think a parent's like, it covers how like parents are guilty for a lot of that because they're just like, you know what, you're nothing else but this. Focus on it. And it sucks because they get to this point and they win or lose. But either way, afterward, they're like, what the fuck do I do now? Who am I even? Like they don't know what they believe in spiritually. They don't know like anything about themselves. And then, that leads into a lot of like suicides and stuff like that. But I think any kind of athletics you do for such a long time and you commit yourself to, and it takes most of your life up, is going to have an effect when it's just done.
And I think people like kind of like going back to what we were saying about like people who are just fans.
Yeah,
they don't fucking understand that shit.
No.
Like they trash these kids for 4 years, and then when they're done, they never think about them again. Right. But 4 years after it's over, these kids got to figure out a life. Right.
Yeah.
And so, going further down. So I was working for Fox Ridge, and I still had that attitude, that mentality, and I did okay. I didn't do great, and then like probably into 2013, my boss comes in and is like, "Hey, look, like you're not doing good. Like you aren't really selling. Like we're gonna fire you." And I was like, "What? You're gonna do what?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna give you one more shot. We're gonna drop you down to a trainee." And I was like, "You're gonna do me?
You're demoting me?
Like you're joking, right? Like." And I don't know what happened then, but something happened. And if, all the switches that had ever been flipped, all the self-doubting, everything that was ever there was like, well, fuck, like at this time I've got 3 kids, at this time I've got 2 kids, one on the way. Like,
the pressure's on even more.
On even more. Like I'm not who, like, I'm like, sitting here fucking making, $50,000. I was supposed to be an NFL player, like all this stuff. And it was flip the switch, right?
Yeah.
Either let go be a loser, or flip the switch. And that's what I did. So for about a year, I learned, trained, got better. Year after that, I was the #1 salesman.
Nice.
So
you think that was...
And they were like, oh shit, excuse us.
Yeah,
but no, honestly,
they definitely didn't ever say, "Oh shit, excuse us." They were like, "Hey, we did the right thing by telling you."
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Lit a fire somehow.
Yeah, and so during that time, I kind of became a student of the building game. Like, I learned about costing. I learned about what margins look like. I learned how to control a community. I learned all kinds of stuff in the real estate space. And after that, I was like, you know what? I had an opportunity. A guy came to me. He was like, look, like, you've been on the real estate side. You've been on the new construction side. Why don't you come be an agent? Right. And so I was like, well, this sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
I'll come out and be an agent and do all this. And I was like, I'm doing a lot better. And so I agreed to do that. Well, like a month later, Nikki quits her job too. So
it's like,
yeah. So we're both unemployed for about a month. This is going into 2015. And so that's kind of when I dive in headfirst into actual real estate. So, and it, I think a lot of people think that real estate is like this be all end all. It's, super easy. Like you just go plop down and
hell no.
Make money.
Get you a lot and just
because it sounds like it. It sounds like it could be.
Just get your real estate license and
you're good to go.
Set.
You're good to go.
You're set.
Dude, no. Like it's
my mom one time whenever I was struggling really bad with my business, she was wanting me to do that. And she was like, just have it just like on the side. You can just sell a house or 2 a month. And I was like, no.
Dude, that is the fucking thing. These people they tell people, they're like, hey man, just go get your real estate license.
Now you have it.
Yeah. This is gonna be great. Like just go get your real estate license, right?
My dad, though, keep in mind, he just became a broker, but it took him 4 years from scratch to become a broker, right? And so, but this dude is just balls to the wall for 4 years. I mean, just doesn't have a second to breathe. And so I'm basically telling my mom, like, no, that's not like that's not how anything works, dude. I'm not going to go to real estate school, have my license, and just like on Mondays and Wednesdays, I'm going to go sell.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it is a commitment. I know, my fiance, she's got her license and everything. She's got experience with building and stuff. She's a lot of good experience, but she works a full-time job, so it's just like she understands. She's like, man, it sucks and she's trying to figure out another avenue, but she's trying to. Basically, it sucks because she needs the time to go like market herself in a real estate way and go to things in order to like gather. But if she's sitting there like working from 9 to 5, it's like, well, when the fuck am I going to do that? And so there's just like, it's one of those things you got to be all in.
I think what I learned too about being an agent is there's two different paths you can take. You can take the promote yourself, but the promote yourself for me ended up being like drinking more and going out more and like the debauchery, like the bad shit in life.
Because there is a side of that that's probably pretty.
Yeah. It's not.
Like you go
it's
to a
not
networking
good.
event, you end up trashed.
You end up trashed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You get home at 2 a.m. and you're like, I was networking.
I was doing business. I was
networking.
You don't remember any of the names of the people you spoke to. You're like, fuck.
So
met a lot of people. Don't remember a lot of people.
Yeah.
So 2015 through 2018, I was just a regular real estate agent. So I was. My first year I did $7 million in sales, which is pretty good.
Nice.
My second year I did 13, and my last year I did 19.
So I do want to like rewind real quick before we get into like real estate and your business and all that stuff. So I want to ask you a couple questions that obviously lead to that. Meeting Nikki, you didn't really touch on like exactly how you met Nikki and her impact on you and how you did like how that she affected you as a man and your lifestyle, and then got something else for you as well.
Yeah. So that question. So how did Nikki and I meet? Nikki and I met at a bar. Nice. We met at a bar. We met at a country bar here in Murfreesboro called Stampedes. And if anybody is old enough in Murfreesboro to know Stampedes, it was awesome. And we were drunk and met, and the next day started dating because we are absolutely batshit crazy people. And I think that there was a lot of things that Nikki and I did not do well. I think one of the things that we did do well is we stayed. Yeah. Over the years. So
how old were you? So was she at Vanderbilt or was she at MTSU?
No, she was. So she was at MTSU, and she was a sorority girl, right? And I was a football player, and it was fun.
Match made in heaven, baby. There it is.
So
I love it.
And so we dated for 2 years, and I don't know. I guess it's kind of like normal college relationship, like you don't know if it is what it is, or if it's.
You don't take it that serious.
You don't take it that serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to be honest, like I didn't take relationships that serious anyways.
Of course.
And so, coming out of college, Nikki and I, she got pregnant, and I was like, we got back into church pretty heavily, and we're like, and I just came to her, I was like, so you wanna? She's like, yeah. All right. So a month later, we got married.
That's all.
And we've been married ever since. So
that's great.
Dude, I love when it's casual like that. Like I proposed to Lydia. She was in her pajamas. We were like marinating steaks. I proposed to her in the kitchen. I pulled the ring literally out of my face. I was like, I got a bottle of wine from like upstairs. Like I bought a really nice bottle because I love wine. And she's like, what's that? Like, why are you hoarding wine upstairs, first of all? And I'm like, we got to celebrate. And she's like, and something happened that day. She was just kind of off. And I was like, I reached in the fanny pack. I unzipped and I pulled that thing. And she was stoked though. It was perfect though, man. It wasn't nothing.
And I pulled that thing out.
I like it. People that just listen to audio, they're like, let me see what's going on.
What the fuck are you talking about?
So
I've seen this on a book.
I think it's funny though, because with Nikki and I's relationship, we're crazy. Like, we're the type of people, like both of us, and I think this is why we do some of the shit we do. But both of us are crazy. Like, we'll pull up and go buy $100,000 car just because we're ready to do it. Like, we'll go, like we bought our house in one day. Like,
You just decide you're going to do it. Yeah.
That's the house
You're
we
good
want.
to go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Right.
It's decisive, though.
And, you know, being that decisive in life has been great. There's been some downfall, but not much. Not as much as the reward.
You think overall that's just better than sitting on a decision and that kind of thing?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes. Sitting on decisions for me gives me fucking
Anxiety.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I'm like
It doesn't go away until you make the decision.
or like a problem. I'm like, all right, how do I fix this problem right now? And
Yeah.
move on?
You're about the action. You know, you don't want to sit there and think about it. You're just about going. I think, you know, not to get too much into astrology, but that's an Aries trait. For sure. You're like, nope, got to do it. It was just kind of like the whole thing with the building. Like, I barely questioned it, you know, just because I was like, fuck, that's a lot to take on my own. And of course, she helped. She's like, you're going to do it. And I was like, I am going to fucking do it. She's like, and you're going to succeed. And I was like, I am. And I was like, fuck it. And I went and signed the lease. I was like, let's do this shit.
That's exactly what Nikki does for me.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, honestly, I think men need women like that are just going to be like, there's no better feeling than someone that like just truly believes in you.
Yep.
You know, they're like, I believe in you. I've got your back. Go for it. And, you know, and that's,
I think
that's hard to come by.
Kind of going down the line, like 2015 to 2018, Nikki and I's relationship was trash.
Yeah.
Like we got married. We had 3 kids. Like, she was pregnant the whole time. Like, I was out partying, networking. And, you know,
At least you can admit it.
yeah, man, it wasn't ideal for a family. It wasn't ideal for what I was trying to accomplish, and I thought it was.
Well,
Right?
I talked about this before, and the thing is, and you probably know now, you know, a lot of people shy away from this, but one thing I've always believed in is, you know, people start to get pregnant, right, and the kids start coming, and their focus goes just into that. And so then they're like, man, I guess we don't really need to pay attention to the relationship because these kids are like so much more important. But I feel like the relationship should always be the most important because those kids are there because of that.
Yep.
And a lot of people, you know,
I think for something that
luckily y'all came back too, though.
well, I think pointing out that is Nikki and I put us first, and we have for the last 5 years.
See, and it's probably 10 times better.
It's 10 times better.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but I also, you know, kind of lining up together is the real estate side. We were making great money at this time. We have a house, we have 3 kids, we're, you know, making good money, and our relationship's shit. Yeah. Right. And so most people at this time are just going to get a divorce.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. And, you know, we talked about it. We thought about it. You know, hell, we were right there on the steps. And, you know, it really came down to me. And, you know, Nikki wasn't going anywhere. You know, we didn't cheat on each other. There wasn't any of that bullshit.
Yeah.
But it was just like, I was partying hard. She was at home. Right.
Yeah.
And it came down to, do you want your family or do you want to go be a single guy? Right. And I thought hard about it. I was like, I'm making a lot of money. This is going to be great. But in the end, I had to realize that I had to revert back to what I did before is you have to change your outlook.
Yeah.
You know, being a real man is having a family.
Yes.
Not going out on guys' nights. Not, you know, there's no guy trips. There's no like going out and getting drunk and then coming home. There's no like, that's not being a real man anymore.
Yeah. I mean, there's time for you to like get with your boys, you know, or like, you know, like you got to have your brothers and your friendship and stuff like that. But like, that's not the priority anymore. Once you create a family, like that's the center of your world.
Correct. And I was still naive enough to think that I was still, you know, I was still that. Yeah. And I think that came back to too when I was getting fired and having that life. And I think Nikki and I realized that we're better together in everything.
Yeah.
We're better working together. We're better being around each other. You know, we are better together.
Yeah.
And we're stronger together, you know, and I didn't want her to take half my shit. No, I'm kidding.
And the truth comes out.
Been there.
But I think, so, long story short, 19, 20, 21, life changed for our relationship, where we just decided that we were going to make it work.
Yeah.
And come hell or high water, we were going to make it work.
Okay.
And it was not easy. There were knockout, drag out fights. There were times when both of us were like, fuck this. Like it was not easy. But now looking back years looking back to that, like it was the best thing that ever happened to come out of that and to be good now. And like you see Nikki and I now.
Yeah.
Like,
I've only had a couple interactions with her. I think she's cool as shit.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah. She's always seems really happy.
She's
just screaming. She's like, hey. And I'm like, man, it's 5 a.m.
Good
to see you too.
She is always really happy. She used to not be always really happy. But
things change.
Yeah. So I think with that relationship allowed us to really get a lot better now.
Good deal, man. I love to hear that. Hell yeah.
I was just going to say real quick, because you bring that up about the kids and the making sure that your relationship is the priority still after that. At the end of the day, it's going to, like, the kid, having grown up with parents that were fighting all the time, like, if you're not right, it's going to bleed into the kids anyways.
Always does.
You can prioritize, you can say, we're prioritizing the kids. We're just, like, the whole staying together for the kids thing. Like, dude, your kids know, bro. They can feel it. They can,
even the energy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like,
they feel that shit, man.
Like, people
that
act
feels
like
the household.
You act like you're, like, keeping it, or like you're doing something like a favor to your kids or something.
Yeah.
By not working on your relationship and just staying together.
Yeah. Kids see how you act.
It's gonna bleed into that anyway, so you might as well prioritize that, right? Because then it's gonna bleed into it in a positive way. Like if you guys are
strong,
really, really good, right? Then the kids are also gonna get the benefit of that, either way. So I think that I would, like at first when you said that, I was kind of thinking about that, and I was like, yeah, I guess, but wouldn't the kids, like at the end of the day, and then the more I thought about it, I was like, no, because if you prioritize the relationship, the kids are who benefit like you benefit, I guess, first, but 1B is the children who you're taking care of all day, every day, right? If you're both walking around miserable, fighting each other all the time.
But I do want to be very clear about this. It takes two.
Yes, exactly. I was just about to say that. It's a team effort.
So Nikki and I both committed, right?
Yeah.
Now, was the majority of the fault on my side? Yes. Right? Like, I was the bigger asshole. I was the bigger one who was out, not doing everything I needed to do. Like, was the majority on me? Yes. But there was also shit she had to fix. And guess who committed? Both of us committed.
Yeah. Both
of us committed to fix it. Yeah. And if you do not have two people committed to fixing it, it's not going to work. Yep. I don't care. I don't care what is out there. I don't care about like going to, counseling and going to all this shit. If you don't have two, never gonna happen.
Yeah.
You're just rowing a boat by yourself. Just going in circles.
Yeah.
You just got one paddle in the water.
Exactly.
One fucking oar.
Exactly. By the way, how much time? When do we got to be out here by?
I got all day.
All right.
We're at.
I got all day. Matt can.
We're at like an hour and 20.
Okay, so let's
we'll wrap it up, Joe.
30 minutes tops, because I do got a few more things.
All
right. So one thing I want to ask you about is finding out you were going to be a father. Like, how did that impact you? Obviously you talked about how professionally it did. You were like, fuck, I need to step things up. But like in other ways, like what was that like?
I think I was so young when I found out I was going to be a father that I don't know, man. I think for me, mine wasn't necessarily when I found out I was going to be a father, but it was the realization when they were actually born. And then like 8 months later, I was like, oh shit, we're having another one.
And you're just holding it.
So I think the realization for me is like, I am the earner now, right? That was the realization.
Yeah.
Is that you
have to provide.
You have to provide.
Like it's not just about you.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I was a very selfish person. I still sometimes am. And so I think that was the biggest thing for me is I had to realize that like, it's not about me anymore.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to focus on the NFL. I'm not. And that was another reason why like I didn't go play like Canada or like Europe.
You have a family.
Or,
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
so, and I think that's the biggest change is you get an understanding of that you are a father and you hold this child, and it doesn't really, for me, it didn't really hit me until my kid goes, Dad. Like, whoa. Yeah. Or that big first fight with your wife and your kids there, right? Yeah. And
like they saw
you're like, damn, when we did this before, there wasn't another.
There wasn't eyes on us.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that, I will say this 100%. If Nikki and I were married with no kids, we probably would have been divorced. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think the kids, having the kids there gave us an extra step, an extra push, an extra, like, this is what you're doing this for. And then we realized that, oh shit, we do like each other. Yeah. we do have fun together. We can be together. Like, we can make sure that everything's going well. And I feel like that's what my kids gave me. Oh yeah. Is not only
just a wake up.
The wake up and the continual wake up, right? The continual, like, these kids are here. You got to provide. You got to be a good father. You got to be a good husband. And who your daughters see you as is who they're going to be with.
Yeah. And dude, at that age, yo, you were a much different person. Like I said, you were selfish and stuff like that, and you still are raising a little bit of hell. And, personally for me, going to have a kid in my early 30s, I've kind of like transitioned past that whole phase. So like going into it, I've been able to analyze, and talk to people that have had situations like yours or so on, or friends that are divorced already and just dealing with this shit. And I've been able to just kind of like just see it for what it is. Something me and my woman talk about all the time. Like, we always got to prioritize each other. We're going to take time for each other. Like, just because when we have a kid doesn't mean we're going to like not enjoy each other and all those things. So, but you got to that point.
Yeah.
So that's good shit. Well, shout out to Nikki and the kids.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
Great.
Do you think that the kids also is what helped you finally get like acceptance about the NFL? Like, you kind of moved on from that once you.
No, I don't think so. I think the final realization for me was that you were not the player that you thought you were.
Yeah.
Right. Gotcha. I'm a monster. I still am. I can still do a lot of shit that most men will only dream about doing.
Yeah.
But there is still a lot of other people that were a lot better than me.
Still levels to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did that realization come though?
Fuck, probably like 2 or 3 years ago. Gotcha. Because you hold on to that shit. Like, you hold on to that shit for years, and
the glory days
eats at you.
Yeah.
It's like what could have been.
Yeah. Like, when I'm 25, I can still step on the fucking field.
Yeah, I can still do it.
Right? Like, I'm fat as shit, but I can still step on the field. Yeah. Right? Right now I'm 35. I can't step on the field. Yeah. And I'm not like, I think you not only do you grow up and realize that like you are, but like I'm made for other things now.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Without a doubt.
You're saying like at 35, you don't have that thought anymore where you're like, I could step on the field.
Now I don't have that thought anymore.
Right.
Right. Like I'm not stepping on the field anymore.
So you think it almost took that being the case to let it go?
I think taking that to be the case and like I've done a lot of like soul searching and like fixing and correcting and, over the last 2 or 3 years. And I think understanding, like you have to learn about yourself and understanding that you're a selfish asshole.
See, I'm just going to take you out to the woods with me. We're just going to do a bunch of mushrooms, talk about some soul searching. I mean, Eric's ready. He's ready to graduate to the.
So that work kind of made you realize that you were holding on to that and it was like, yeah.
Well, the thing, go ahead. Well, what I was saying is, the holding on thing, and we talk about your experience, or you talk about my wreck, but that's what the whole thing is, and that's what keeps people from moving forward at all is holding on to past shit. And the thing is, it's fucking happened. Like, there's no changing it, and just understanding that it was part of your journey. Like football for you, you're not playing NFL, but look at it. The man it molded you in today, like look at the discipline it taught you and the ups and downs you had to go through in order to succeed and get where you even got, and just looking at it that way, like, fuck, I did that. That's pretty badass. And that was part of it. And here we are now, and so, but like you said, like you held on to it for a while, but finally you relinquished that and you're moving forward. So that's the good thing. But, hell yeah. Well, moving forward. So you talked about real estate. You talked about your sales, $7 million 1 year, 13 the next.
19 the third.
Yeah. So moving forward with that, what prompted you, to start your own business with real estate?
So I got an opportunity to do a deal, which was called basically wholesaling. So wholesaling is where I didn't wholesale. I actually bought the property, but I flipped a property is basically what it is.
Okay.
So in 2018, I had a referral from an attorney of mine, and he's like, hey, this lady's ready to sell her house. I was an agent at the time. I was like, great. So I go meet with this lady, and her sister lives there. Her mom died in the house. Like, this lady's in Florida. She's like, I don't want to do anything in this house. So I talked to her, and I'm like, okay, you don't want to do anything? That's great. But your house is worth $120,000. And this was, years before the market went crazy here. But this house is worth $120 if you just clean it out.
Yeah.
Right? If you just kick your sister out, clean it out, it's worth $120,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, but if you don't do that, like, it's going to be hard to get somebody to come in and buy this.
Yeah.
Right? She's like, I don't want to do that. Like, and at the time I had a little money setback, and I was like, you know what? How about this? I'll give you $75,000 cash, and I'll close in 3 days. I was like, here's what you're going to make. Like, you're going to make $30,000 more if you do it this way.
Yeah.
Are you sure you don't want to do it this way?
And I got involved with some real estate stuff a few years back before I just really focused on this. But yeah, so I was invested a little bit with this guy who does something similar to that. But I think he gets a list of like foreclosures or something like that, and he gets an in. You call the people and you talk to them. It's like, listen, it's either you get foreclosed or like you can allow us to like take this house.
Dude, there's hundreds.
It's kind of crazy how that works out.
Hundreds of different ways you can do it.
And at first it sounds jacked up because it's like, let me buy your house. It's going to foreclose. But at the end of the day, you're kind of saving their ass because they don't have a foreclosure on their credit, and their bank's not just taking all their shit. So I don't know exactly how it works, but
so she ends up agreeing to my deal, right?
Yeah.
So a week later, I get the daughter out, I clean it out, and I sell it, and I ended up making $35,000. It's the most money I've ever made on a transaction. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I need to be doing this. I need to be doing this.
Yeah.
And so me being me, I'm like, Nikki, I'm going to start doing wholesaling, and I'm going to start building, and I'm going to start doing all this shit. And she's like, okay.
Hell yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
You're probably just amped up as hell.
And so I dove in. I started flipping. I started wholesaling. I partnered with a guy. That partnership fell apart. Then I partnered with another guy. That partnership fell apart. And I just started fucking buying everything I could. I started learning how to raise money, how to borrow money, what good debt was, what bad debt was. Like, I got credit card debt. I got all kinds of debt I could freaking find to do this. And I was making money hand over fist. At least I thought I was. And,
so you were learning as you go pretty much.
Oh, bro. Yeah.
And I've had a couple people ask me. I had some students come in from MTSU. Like, I talked to MTSU Monday and had a few meetings with them yesterday here. And, just other people. And, like, I'm nowhere near where I want to be. Like, I just see this thing just going so fucking far, and it's going to take everything I got. But, still making something happen on my own regardless. And I'm proud of it. But they're just like, man, what kind of suggestions do you have? Like, what are some things to read? You wish you would have taken some classes at MTSU that would have helped you. I mean, honestly, I've learned most of my stuff just moving forward through it. Because you make mistakes and you learn, but you make successes and you learn. And YouTube, my biggest thing is mentors, man. My biggest thing is finding people that you respect that are doing shit that you love. Like, I got another buddy that owns a brand out, and I bring him up a lot, but he lives in North Carolina, and his brand's probably 4 or 5 years ahead of mine, And but a big thing is that good. All I did was just talk to him. Do we need to take a break? But
I didn't cut that part.
Just chatting with him. And just learning from like some issues he's faced growing his brand and this and that and starting a gym and all this, just like communicating with people you respect and sharing ideas. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So to me, mentorship's just been fucking huge as far as like just moving forward with things and just learning as you go, man. Screwing up and experiencing that screw up and how bad it sucks along the way, but also succeeding in certain ways and being like, all right, I'm gonna learn from that too. But Anyways,
Give me 1 second.
we'll give Eric a moment.
Yeah, sorry.
Woo. Okay, so moving forward, because I was talking a little bit about.
Bro, we bleed for this.
Oh, we were talking about
The real estate side.
learning along the way. You know, I was like,
Yeah, you were talking about YouTube.
So I would say the biggest things that I did that transferred, that pushed me quicker, right? Number one, I'm a fire starter. Like, that's just who I am. Like, I'm going to go as hard as I can. I'm going to maybe pick up a little too much weight and regret it at the end. You know, I'm going to give in to some challenges because I'm not a bitch. You know, just is what it is.
Yeah.
The workout crew is laughing off camera.
So
they like that one.
But at the same time, that's how I live in business too.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not the best. But for the majority, going hard and being a little bold and doing what you're, you know, pays off, right? But the biggest thing that paid off for me was what you said. I hired mentors. Yeah. I've probably spent $400,000 to $500,000 on coaching.
Nice.
Holy shit.
That's a hefty amount.
So,
but it's paying off.
20 times, 20, 30 times X. Yeah. I currently own $41 million in real estate. Whew. So if you want to kind of,
it's a decent amount.
So I just finished putting everything together for our consultant. Matt's over there laughing. That wanted to know exactly where's everything at, where's the debt, you know, where's everybody, you know, part of these. Now I'm not 100% owner of all that, right?
Yeah.
I'm not. That's not my. That's not all me. Yeah. Right. So, that'll get into the second part of this, but my number one thing is mentors. So having somebody has been where you want to go.
Exactly.
I'm big on coaching, hired you, right?
Yeah.
I'm big on, you know, being coached. I'm not big on being told what to do.
Yeah. And you know, the thing is, you talk about the coaching. I talked to a guy yesterday, and it's funny because you are where you're at, and you know, your business, you would think, oh, I don't need coaches, but you probably still will do it. You know, if you find someone that's got something that you want to learn that can help you, then why the fuck not? And the same thing with the training. I was talking to a guy. He was like, man, I want people to like work with me and then never need me again. And I said, here's the thing. I said, yes, you want people to be able to take off on their own and train themselves in the gym. But just like, you know, my crew I train with at 6 a.m., you know, like my boy Eric is an ex D1 athlete. Like, he knows how to train and lift, and look at all the top bodybuilders in the world. They know how to diet, they know how to train, but they all have coaches. They're not doing their own.
Do you think Tiger Woods knows how to swing a golf club?
Yes.
I was about to say
exactly.
Like combat sports, like coaches who are coaching like world champions. Like, bro, I'm pretty sure if we were in there together, but they still allow themselves.
There's a big guy that's helped me a lot. His name is Ryan Pineda. So that's been one of my biggest influencing guys for me. He's helped me out a lot. He's taught me a lot. He owns multiple businesses. He's multi-millionaire, multiple eight-figure businesses. And I have probably paid him himself probably $150,000. And that has made me at least $5 million.
Nice. So when people hear these numbers, right, and you think about like a guy like Grant Cardone who comes in and charges.
Aren't y'all talking to him, or don't y'all?
So we currently are my Cody Creek and Hensley Group are currently being coached by Grant Cardone as well.
I think that you're doing the 10X.
We are doing their Cardone Ventures. Their Cardone Ventures, which is basically what they do is they come in and they help you structure your business in the correct manner, give you ideas and processes and systems, help you with research. Like,
that's cool.
And
that's exactly what I was going to ask, because a lot of people look at it on the outside and they think these guys are scam artists. They're coming in and they build a brand, and then they come in, they tell you a couple catchphrases.
The guy that Grant Cardone works with, his name is Brandon Dawson. Mm-hmm. Brandon Dawson is the smartest business person I've ever talked to, been around, ever even had a fucking conversation with in my entire life. Yeah. And so I think that so what a lot of people think is that if you spend money, right, you're spending money on this coaching, you're spending money on mentors, and how is that going to help me? Right.
Yeah.
And what you've got to understand is that knowledge is more important than money. Money is a tool. right?
Yeah.
Debt is a tool. Money is a tool. All these things that people talk about as far as being negative are only negative if you use them that way.
Yeah.
Right. And so, having money as a tool and understanding that the tool that you have allows you access.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think if I didn't spend that money, I'd have access to Brandon Dawson, Grant Cardone, Ryan Pineda, right? The top guys that have been helping me and teaching me and growing me? Like, no.
Right.
Right.
You have to have that vehicle to get you there.
You have to have access.
Yeah.
Right. So that has been the biggest thing for my companies the last 3 years, is understanding that, number one, I'm not going to do it myself. So of the 4 guys that are sitting in this room, 2 of them work for me. Right. Yeah. And not because they think that I'm better or worse than them. It's because we have aligned goals.
Yeah.
Right. And understanding that aligned goals are the most important thing behind being coached.
Of course.
Right. So
yeah.
that's the thing that's going to get you further. And then the last thing for me, as far as like mentorship, learning, and don't do it alone.
Of course. And right now for me, I'm at the kind of the point where I have to do most of this on my own.
Correct.
But like, it's about affordability. Like, yeah, I put everything into it. I can't afford to pay this person to do this person to do this, and I've got to get Logan paid, and he does all my editing and shit. And that's something that like, I don't want to stack onto my plate too, because that's a whole other ball game of shit, but eventually as it grows, as we allocate things to others and, everything just expands. That's when you're like, all right, you can get people to do your shipping stuff and get people to do this, and it changes. And then you're like, okay, how do we get it to grow more?
Exactly.
Who can we pay to help us? And it's like you just said, at the end of the day, your focus is growing your business and, obviously being a father and husband and all that, but growing your business and doing the best you can with that. But there's some people that their main focus is teaching people how to grow their business.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing as bodybuilding or whatever the athletics are, The coach doesn't look like the guy that's winning the Olympia, but it's okay because his whole focus goes into how to get those guys to the Olympia.
And I think too, that's something a lot of people don't understand is that, I'm being coached by Grant Cardone and Brandon Dawson, right? Brandon Dawson's never put in a pool.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
But this sumbitch knows more about business than I could ever learn in 50 years.
And on the other token, if he was like, hey, dude, I want to put in a pool, he'd probably come to you and be like,
right.
"Oh,
you'd be the expert,
Eric. How do I put a fucking pool in?" So
he ain't coming to me because I don't know. I hire people for that.
Well, he'll go to one of you guys, So, but yeah, no, that's pretty interesting, and I think that's valuable for a lot of people.
Just real quick, my perspective on that question about the scam artist thing is that Gary Vaynerchuk is somebody who I've never met. I would love to do some of his stuff that that you pay for, but basically structured my entire business around authenticity and documenting things as they are and, telling a story and all these things, right? And like he's lumped into that group of people that's like, oh, these guys are they just say random bullshit basically. And it's not, and it's like, I just really feel like it's the way you take it. Like that's you taking it that way versus listening to what he's saying and actually, like they'll be like, oh yeah, he'll say like kindness is how you win. It's like, oh, that's bullshit. It's like, but you're not.
I think the other thing too is being real.
Yeah.
Right. Like
always.
Just not like I could have sit on here this podcast and been like, yeah, man, I was the best player at Vanderbilt. I was supposed to be on the NFL. Like, and it's just being real, being who you are.
People can usually see through that if you're not being real. They're like,
yeah,
listen to this guy puffing up his chest.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the vibe that I get like from a guy like Gary is that like I don't think that he's trying to like scam anybody.
And see, that's the thing when you actually like Brandon. The Brandon Dawson, the guy that we're talking about, like he's a regular dude. Like he's a high level guy, right? Yeah. But we can sit there and have a conversation and it's the 5 minutes of that conversation is making me another, $200,000 in the business.
Oh yeah.
Right. So those are the type of conversations that I like to have. Those are the type of things that I like to do is make sure that, I'm growing. And I think too, I've realized that business outweighs real estate. So the number one thing that I think I have learned through investing in real estate and being being a big real estate, if you want to say guru or whatever, like I've done everything.
Would it be mogul? Like a mogul? Like
Dude, I've done everything. I've wholesaled. I've owned commercial. I've owned multifamily. I've built. I've done ground up. I've done land development. Like you name it in real estate, I've done it. The only thing I haven't done has been a commercial broker, right? I haven't, but I've sold commercial property. I bought my commercial property. So I've negotiated contracts. I've everything, right?
Yeah.
And I would say after owning a business this year, like an actual business, and when I say actual business, so a lot of people understand business to be a lot of real estate guys. Business for them is them, right? They're out getting a deal. They're out getting the next listing. They're promoting themselves. They're growing their personal brand, blah, 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 right? And what they don't realize is if they died, their business is dead, right? What they don't realize is if they go away or they get hurt or they go down, their income is directly related to them. Right. And what I've realized in the last year is that growing a actual company like Coyote Creek and Canaan Builders, where other people are helping you run it, make sure it's done correctly, other people are putting in the business, selling the business, running a real company is tenfold to real estate.
Yeah.
Because if you can get a income stream, that should be your number one goal. Right. So a lot of people, I did it through real estate, right? I did it through me. You're doing it through your brand. You're getting your brand going. You're making sure your money's right on your brand. You're getting all that going, right?
Yeah.
Once that's going great, right? And now you have extra income. Now you have that, you've got your bills paid. Now you got extra, right? Then you take that and you buy cash flowing assets with it.
Yeah.
And that is
You said cash flowing assets?
Cash flowing assets. And that's the difference. That's the difference that I've learned. I tried to do it the hard way, which like a small story. My dad used to tell me, used to come in and I hated to brush my teeth. I hated it. He's like, all right, do you want to do this the easy way or the hard way? The hard way. And guess which way I picked?
The hard way.
The hard way.
I already know.
So that's how it was. I had to learn the hard way. And so
what's an example of that, cash flowing assets?
So
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. So a cash flowing asset. So, I own a 9-unit in downtown Nashville right now. So, a 9-unit is 9 individual units. Each one is a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and each one rents for $1,550.
Okay, and so that profits every month, right? And so that's just cash flow.
Yep. So, but what a lot of people don't realize is you don't get all that, right? So, of that asset, I owe $1.1 million, right? So that $1.1 million has debt service. There's insurance you have to pay. There is property management, and all that comes out, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have to do anything for that. I bought it. I gave it over to my property management company, and I don't do anything from there.
You put it into the machine.
I put it into the machine. Now, I don't consider, I think passive income is a joke, okay? I think true passive income is where you take money and you give somebody else your money and they give you a return. That's true passive income.
Yeah.
Real estate assets is not passive income because I had to buy it, I had to fix it up, I had to turn it, I had to get it released, none of that's passive. Right?
So I know true. So for example, I got Iconic Culture Barbers in Mount Juliet. I invested in that. And so for a good friend of mine, and it was like, hey, this is yours. And then so by that, I don't do shit. I just get a check every month from them.
That's passive income.
And it's pretty nice because I don't got to fucking worry about it. I don't got to be hands-on. Like, I don't know nothing about cutting hair. Him and all his guys do it. They run the shit. I get a check every month. And so that's just
exactly
pretty nice.
And that's true passive income.
Yeah.
That's where you want to get to. But when you cash flowing, so like this asset itself probably cash flows for me about $3,000 a month, right? But that's straight to the bottom line. Everything's paid for. Everything's running about $3,000 a month, right? And so that's money I can use to do whatever I want. Like I bought a boat, so my rental income pays for my boat. right? So that's how I think about assets.
Yeah.
So does it become a passive income at the point in which it's in the machine, though?
It becomes a passive income at the point it's one in the machine, but like, what happens if an HVAC breaks down?
Right. Like you still have to
There's
deal
all
with
that shit.
things.
Yeah.
You still have
Like
to deal with things.
You still have to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
So that going back to kind of what I talked about earlier, though, that's the machine. Create a business that gets off extra income, right? You got live and gets off extra income. Take that extra income, and you go buy cash flowing assets. A lot of people don't realize that cash flowing asset also takes your taxes down on your main business.
Oh.
So you do a cycle. You do a cycle there.
Oh yeah.
And so you end up getting a lot of cash flow, you end up getting a lot of assets, and you just learn to grow that. But growing this business over real estate and learning to grow a real estate business, a lot of people I feel like get it wrong in the fact that they want to go be this big dog, right?
Yeah.
Like I want my name on everything. I want like the Hensley Group. And that's what I did, right? Like the Hensley Group, like we're the best real estate agents. We're the best, this, we're the best that. And I've realized over the past year and a half, 2 years, I don't want my name on it. Like I want to grow something beyond my name.
Yeah.
I hear you on that one.
Yeah.
Right. And kind of wrapping up with that is like, name the most wealthy guy that you ever heard of.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or
Cool.
Bezos. No, it's Bezos.
Did he do that with real estate?
No.
No, I did.
What did he do with it?
Spaceships and fucking laser beams.
Yeah, which are?
AI, I don't know, robots like
Businesses.
Okay, shit.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So,
Okay.
So what about the?
I thought you wanted specifics.
No.
Don't people say that most fortunes are made in real estate?
So here's the difference.
Got 'em.
Most millionaires are made in real estate.
Most millionaires.
Most millionaires are made in real estate. I'm not interested in being a millionaire anymore. I want to be on my name,
Yeah.
right? And that's done through business.
Okay.
Because
That makes sense.
now, are there billionaires? Are there like uber wealthy guys in actual real estate that are doing big stuff? Yes, but the Grant Cardone, right? Grant Cardone didn't make his biggest wealth through real estate.
Yeah.
Grant Cardone built a massive brand, a massive business, a huge coaching business, a huge sales brand, took that money, took that ability to raise and turned around and put that into real estate. Now he owns $6 billion in real estate.
That's it.
Yeah.
So
But
that's nuts, though. That's
he
crazy as
did
fuck.
that. He did that because of his main business.
Yeah.
Right. He did that through being known. He did that through his main sales business. He did that through, that's the key.
Yeah.
That's the true, so that's what I'm going for now.
No,
is
that's-
I'm trying to build companies.
Yeah, and that's something like Lydia and I have talked about. I've got RP, and I want to get to a place where it's profitable. And then once it gets to that point, and it's going to take some time. But okay, now I can start taking money and be like, hey, honey, you're the realtor here. Like, put it in real estate and stuff like that. So, but it takes time to get there. There's a couple other things. So you kind of talked about some tough decisions and lessons you've learned moving from that, like mentorship and all these things. And is there anything notable you want to say as far as tough decisions and lessons learned? And then we'll move on to but the next question is,
I would say the biggest thing that I would say in real estate is, unfortunately, don't trust anybody. Have everything in writing, and there are 5 people in this business that I've worked with that I wouldn't put things in writing with. And that's because I have done enough business with them now that I trust that what they're doing and what they say is their word. But this business, you got to have it in writing. Put it in writing, keep it in writing, and
I'll tell you about that though. What's funny is even in fitness, even with apparel,
Oh, yeah.
that's the thing, because this has been a hard lesson I've had to learn, is getting, all right, you're my friend. I'm one of those people, I know I can shake your hand and it's going to be followed through. The problem is that I expect the same from other people. All right, we shook hands, we're on the same fucking page. Nope. ultimately you just end up getting disappointed by the person you shook hands with. And so I've had to learn, like, man, moving forward, like, yeah, you may be a friend, we're real close, but I'm going to have starting paperwork for everything, especially if you're renting out space here or whatever the case is. Because, yeah, man, like, putting it on paper and just trying to do things the old handshake way just doesn't go through.
No, and every
sucks.
chance. Here's the problem with real estate: there becomes a lot of money involved.
Yeah, true. This is much smaller scale.
So there's a guy that I've listened to. There's a very smart guy. His name's Jeremy Newsom, and he talks about money a lot. He talks about how money grows on trees. He actually wrote a book, "Money Grows on Trees."
Nice.
And so basically the premise there is like money is what you make it, and money improves or brings out the person you already are. So if you're a dick, right, or you're an asshole, or you're not being like, having more money is just going to exasperate.
And people are going to really know, like, man, this guy is a dick.
Yeah. Or, hey, if this guy is making $100,000 and is being a scam artist and not doing what he says, and
give him a bunch of resources.
Imagine him as a millionaire doing, exactly.
as a millionaire, he's going to do the same thing.
Well, they say like power corrupts, but other people say it doesn't corrupt, it reveals.
There you go. Yeah. So that would be my number one thing is, if you're going to get into real estate, you're going to get into transactions with people, because partnerships are where mentorships have gotten me to where I'm at. Okay. I have not gotten here alone, right? I could name 5 guys right now that have taken my business from where it was to where it is now. And without those 5 guys, I'd still be sitting on the fucking sideline. Right. And, those guys are more important to me than a fucking dollar.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, 4 of those guys, we put everything in writing.
Yeah.
I could shake their hand and their word is as good as gold, and everything's good and we're all good, but we put it in writing anyways.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's number one.
Yeah. That's the whole thing to me. Is like, I guess always is the whole putting it in writing thing felt weird. Like, yeah, you're my friend. Why are we doing this? And I'll be honest, me and him, like, we haven't put anything in writing. It's just been kind of.
Joe's the only person that I work with that I don't have something in writing with.
But I think, with the way our dynamic is and him being like truly immersed in this and like a big part of what.
But at the same time, I was also, when we first started, we knew each other before RP started, but whenever he went to start RP and we were talking about it, and like right out of the gate, we started working together as far as me doing his videography. But one of the other things that I put together was like this, basically like a program for potential athletes, like the sponsored stuff, whatever. And
right.
Basically what he did was, again, this is just, all of this is a credit to who he is in a good way, but he basically picked these people that he knew and he had relationships with already, right? And which was great. But then I remember talking to him and being like, well, I would still get like something in writing where they have to do this, and like, here are the expectations for you. Here's what we're going to get from you. Every time that we have a drop, you're going to get X amount.
Exactly.
But you and it doesn't mean you don't trust them necessarily, but this is something you both need to understand what you're getting. And
I think that's the biggest key is what you just said. Like, you're not putting things in writing because you don't trust the other person. You're putting things in the writing so that if something does come up, it's clear.
Yes.
Like, hey,
the expectations are clear.
You know what? Yeah, looking back, I never thought about that, but you were fucking right, dude.
And what ended up happening was that a lot of these people ended up.
Yeah, I got pretty burned by a few.
Yeah.
And
so, and honestly, like, I did think about that. Like, pretty much every time that would happen, I'd think, well, damn.
Good, you know what? Good reminder though, and like at the end of the day, yes, he was correct. But
it's still.
I'm also one of those people that likes to learn tough lessons on my own somehow. I'm like a glutton for punishment. But I'm also grateful because like seeing how these individuals revealed themselves, it's just like, all right, cool.
Right.
It's a tough lesson, but it's a good lesson moving forward.
And again, it's a compliment to who you are that you want to do business that way. It's just,
I
do what I can.
It's just unfortunate.
I think the world that we live in, writing is better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's my first lesson. My second lesson is like, for me in particular, is that I always thought that real estate was the be all end all, right? I always thought that, like, kind of what we were talking about earlier is, more millionaires are made in real estate every day than anything else. And yeah, millionaires that take 50 years
right.
and that Like you get $200 a month from this house, and you have to then go put 20 grand down, and then do this and do that. And I think I've realized that business is greater than real estate.
Yeah.
To a point now. I think they work hand in hand. I think that they are very important pieces to the wealth puzzle, right? So I see wealth as a puzzle, and you got to put your wealth pieces together, right?
Yeah.
To get to the level that you want to, right? And maybe a millionaire is where you want to be. Maybe.
Yeah, it depends on what's your goal too. Like some
Exactly.
people don't want to fucking deal with the business. They don't want to do all the extra stuff that goes into that because it is probably a lot more shit.
Exactly. Sometimes they want to. So, hey, they have a W-2 income, and they want to take that W-2 income and they want to go buy a cash flowing asset. Or, hey, they want to be an employee, right? They want to work for somebody, and they want to have the comfort to know that they're getting a paycheck every week.
Yeah, everybody's a little bit different.
But I'm not talking to those guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm talking to the guys that want to grow, they want to, that are more closely related to what I'm doing and what I'm growing. Is that if you want to have true wealth is having a business that you can walk away from for a year and it's still running.
Yeah, and the whole thing is too. I think what you're saying, a lot of your knowledge and what you do is applicable to any business. And that's the cool thing about it is because we don't got a lot of people maybe that listen to this that are, big real estate people. But I tell you what, like most of the people on that board up there have their own businesses, and whether it's
correct,
and so they can take what you said and apply it to their business and learn from that. And, I'm sure a lot of the listeners do too.
You gotta duplicate yourself.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. It's like training, unfortunately. Training is very, very hard to duplicate because if you're not hiring other trainers to train for you, it's very hard for your time, right?
Yes.
So it's the most
Duplicating yourself, like hiring people to be you.
correct. So you have to duplicate yourself, and when you're duplicating yourself, you have to realize that your time is more valuable than theirs, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so you have to be very careful. You have to guard your time. So
Yeah.
that brings me into basically my last point for what you were saying is what have I learned? It's guard your time. Your time is more important than anything.
Of course.
You can't get a day back. You might be able to earn $1 back. You can't get a day back.
Yeah.
You can't get a minute back. Spend it with people that you like. Spend it with people that are learning. Hug your kids, hug your wife. Like your time is the most important piece.
Oh yeah.
You're not guaranteed tomorrow. And so making sure that if growing a large business is what you want to do that, you have to guard your time.
Of course.
With the people, places, things, not going out and getting drunk, not going out and doing all the crazy shit. It's focus on the business, get everything going, get everything rolling, and then enjoy your life, right?
Hell yeah.
But time is the most important piece.
Without a doubt.
And so I think that would kind of be my three things is grow business, guard your time, put it in writing.
Hell yeah. And well said. That's good advice. Definitely it's got to be clips. They got to be clips. We got to put them out there. So hell yeah, man. Well, moving forward, we're at the very end of this, and I think you kind of touched on what fires you up. Like I can tell you're already fired up. Like what fires you up about being an entrepreneur and building your brand. You basically covered that. So the final thing for us today is I want to know what's next. What's next for the business? What's next for you? What's next for your family? What is your relentless pursuit?
Our goal right now is very clear. And Matt's smiling over there because he knows it. My goal is to get to a $125 million business in the next 5 years.
Nice.
My secondary goal is to own $125 million in cash flowing assets.
So you want Coyote Creek to be the $125 million business?
So Coyote Creek and connected businesses with it.
Okay, so your overarching organization.
So I think Coyote Creek is the let's call it the anchor, right? But I see as buying other companies and bringing other companies in and partnerships and connected businesses to that company being the overarching 125.
Right.
Okay.
So your organization as a whole, or your
the Coyote Creek organization as a whole.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. And then I want to take that money and I want to put it into cash flowing assets, and I want to do that for my entire company. So I want to make sure that everybody in my company, they don't have a 401k, they have cash flowing real estate.
Fuck yeah.
So
That's awesome.
And that's,
that's called unique solutions right there.
yeah,
Creative.
That's much more. I mean, I think that'd be much more valuable, man, than I don't know.
I think people would rather have that too.
I'm not a big retirement guy. I take it personally because, like, I would tell people all the time, like, why would I be focused on retirement? I almost didn't make it to 30 years old, And I think it was just like this realization that, like, every year is a blessing. Like, it's not guaranteed that I'm going to make it to retirement. And I think fortunately, a lot of people don't make it to retirement. And I'm sure a lot of them had retirement plans, and it goes back to the time thing too. Guard your time. Enjoy your life as you grow. And I think it's about creating that balance. So grow, fucking dedicate yourself, bust your ass, but also take time for yourself instead of slaving away for 60 years and thinking, oh, now I can do everything I wanted to do, because that might not come.
And then my last thing, Joe, is I got to be under 300. So let's go.
We're getting after it.
And that's on you, bro.
Oh, no, it's not all on me. I don't eat the foods.
Yeah.
I don't do the off-time cardio that's on it. So there you go.
Yeah. So those are my those are my three. That's what I write down every morning. Those are the things that are driving me right now. I'm making sure that I'm focused on those two goals.
Good shit, man. And I think training with you guys in the morning and just keeping that going, it's only going to help all that other shit.
And I'm just calling anybody out that wants to come get that work. We're there.
6 a.m.
I'll put y'all through it. I'm excited. I might join y'all next Friday with that. I'll put whatever circuit I do. I might just get out there with y'all.
Oh, very unassuming. Joe's
very
coming.
unassuming. I'll drink some pre-workout.
Yeah, the most unassuming dude I've ever met. That's for sure.
Let's go, Joe.
Unassuming, head tattoos.
Yeah,
that's
funny.
All right, guys. Well, Eric, that was excellent, man. That was a really good interview, and I appreciate you being on here, man. I mean, it's just such a good time. I think we could definitely in the future take off with a bunch of other shit. Maybe we'll get y'all in here on whiskey night or something like that down the road. But we'll have a long-term relationship with all you guys. Does anybody have anything to say? Did I leave anything out? Are we good? Because we can always do this again. We're right here.
I think we could do
We'll bring all the other guys in next time.
Yeah.
I think we could do an episode just on the money and business stuff. We didn't even start touching on that until we were at an hour and a half.
But it's cool, man. I think, honestly, everybody got to learn you, learn your story. And I think there's a lot of value to pretty much your whole journey, man. And I really do appreciate you taking the time to come be on this.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah, bro. Well, everybody, that concludes episode, whatever it's going to be, on the Relentless Pursuit podcast. Hey, you want to say farewell or anything? Or
farewell?
Hell yeah. And
go review.
Go like, go subscribe.
And if you want to
share everything.
I'm sure they're going to tag me, but if you want to reach out, it's Hensley.built. Hensley.built on Insta.
Check them out. And also, if you're looking to sponsor the podcast and run advertisements, definitely do so. Reach out to us on all the social media accounts, Relentless_Pursuit, Relentless Pursuit _HQ. You can reach me at TN_SweetP or Relentless Pursuit Lifestyle at gmail.com. So contact us that way. And also thank you again to my co-host. Yes. Thank you again to my co-host, Cinema 83 LLC, Logan Hyder. And yeah, see you next time.
All right, we're out.
Boom.